Thank you for listening today on Revealing Wholeness, sponsored by Infinity Whole Health. Check out our website at infinityWholeHealth.com, where we are revealing the eternal in each individual, the infinite in the individual. The creativity is made manifest. Limitation is let go. Now, here's your host, Dr. Troy Munson.
Hello and welcome. I'm Dr. Troy. Older. Who isn't getting older? All of us, every single person on the planet, every moment is getting older. And some of us are going into those later years kicking and screaming. Some of us are trying to do it a bit more gracefully. But I've been reading this article, and it talks about researchers have found more than 900 organ-specific proteins. And so instead of doing a blood test that, can show that things are starting to leave optimal. And if you've checked out my podcast before, I've talked about blood work and how medical normals are very, very broad bands, but optimals are very narrow bands within blood work. And so a lot of people will come into my office as an example and say, I don't feel well, but my doctor says my blood looks great. I said, well, let me take a look at your blood. I said, well, you're on the borders of their norms, and that's actually 2 standard deviations outside of optimal. And so yet they call them normal to make us feel good, but there's really nothing normal about normals. Now, optimals are much more narrow, and we want to get you into those normal or those optimals, and you'll likely feel amazing when you get there. And so as we look, these doctors are really, hey, blood tests aren't very specific. And so we need to have some type of testing that would actually tell us if an organ in someone's body is aging faster than all the others. And of course, that's what they're looking for. And so with this 900 plus proteins, they now can tell which organs are actually aging much, much faster. And of course, if you've been around at all listening to my podcast, why would an organ age? Well, it would age if there's nutritional deficiencies, but here's the kicker. Chiropractors way back were blessed with a doctor who hated them by the name of Windsor. And what Windsor said is, I'm going to prove all of you chiropractors wrong. And so he had like 212 cadavers at his beck and call as the medical director, I think, of the Wisconsin School of Medicine. It was either that or some Northwestern state. Northeastern or Midwestern state. And so he goes into his cadaver labs and he starts finding all these cadavers and these diseased organs that they knew they died from. And he isolated the nerve to that organ and tracked that nerve back to the spine. And when he did that, he found that 94 or 96% of the time that the vertebra was more diseased than the organ. And then he realized that within the chain of ganglion outside of the spine, just in front of the spinal column itself, nerves can come out and travel up or down a level or two and then go out to an organ. And he found that the other 4% of the time, there was a vertebra either above or below that one that was more diseased. And so he realized that that particular nerve actually went up a level into that other diseased vertebra. And so what he did is realize that what chiropractors were saying is that the nervous system is supreme and it controls health and wellness as well as disease. And when a vertebra is diseased, a nerve is going to affect every organ that it goes to. Well, why would a vertebra become diseased? Injuries are very common. Stress is very common, but eating lifestyle choices are very high up there, whether or not joints can repair or not. Can't tell you how many clients I've told, look, hair, skin, nails, joints. I'll repeat it again. Hair, skin, nails, joints are non-essential tissue. What does that mean? It means your brain says you're low on the totem pole. Heart, liver, lungs, digestion, immune organs like spleen, Peyer's patches, lymph nodes, lungs, all of those, kidneys, those are primary organs. They are essential for life. So I'm going to give all nutrients to those systems and those organs first, and I'm going to withhold it from joints, from skin, from hair, from nails. And so we'll see these other tissues, these non-essential tissues, become less and less healthy. And by the time we have some serious issues with skin, hair, nails, and joints, we've let it go decades. And now we want a quick fix to feel better or look better or have nicer hair or our nails better. I would love to give you that quick fix, but it probably doesn't exist, my friend. And so here they're finding these proteins now that perhaps maybe we could do a wake-up call to people that they wouldn't want to go eat McDonald's. Because when I started reading this article, I was thinking 18% of people over 50 have one organ aging faster than all the other organs. I'm thinking 18%. Isn't that about how many people go to McDonald's? And it got me down a rabbit hole. And I read that 45 million visits to McDonald's in our country alone, not every month, every day. And that literally means 2.5 million people every hour are being served McDonald's. Now, they say that most people go about 4 times a month. So I multiplied that 45 by 30 because they're open every day. And it came out with some astronomical number, and I divided that by 4. And it was still like 330 million people. I was just like, no. Yeah. If you're listening to this, you probably have gone to McDonald's in the last month. And if you have, I'm going to ask you why. And maybe it's just because it's fast. It's easy. I was hungry. I didn't want to make myself something. I wanted to go have fun instead of sit down and make myself food. I get it. But ultimately, at the end of the day, if we keep eating refined, processed, fast food, we are going to have organs that are going to degenerate faster. If you want to understand the statistic, in the mid 1950s, the oldest living man and woman, just take a guess. If you've listened to any of my podcasts, you've probably heard me talk about this. I've mentioned it maybe 2 or 3 times, but it's been a while, so it's a good reminder. Go ahead and guess. You can pause this podcast and guess. How old do you think the oldest living man and woman were in the 1950s? The man was 156 years old. The woman, 148. And you might be thinking, no, that's impossible. That's impossible. You're not my father. I keep thinking of Luke Skywalker there. But it is possible, and it's very likely. So what does that mean to us? What it means is that for every meal that we eat, we're cutting our life down by 8 hours. And so every meal we eat, which is 3 a day, you're taking a day off your life every day that you eat 3 not great meals. And so why did I come up with that? Because what's the age that most people live to now? Mid-70s. Well, that's half of 150. So if I ate good foods that were whole nutrition, I would live out my years likely, nobody knows if they're going to be hit by a bus, but if all things being equal, I would live out to at least beyond, 120s and likely 150s if my stress is at a minimum, if I'm exercising. How many centenarians or 100-year-old people do we know overweight? I don't know if one exists, to be honest. And so if our weight is being managed and we're not overeating and we're eating foods that are whole food, nutritious, and good for us, then we're going to live a good long time. That's just sensible. In fact, the one aging thing that stood the test of time is caloric restriction. So if you want to know how to live longer, caloric restriction. What does that mean? Don't eat so much. So less calories. So it means not to eat empty calories or just fiber. It means that the fats that you do eat, they should be high quality. And this is what I've found. As I eat these higher quality fats like grass-fed butter, grass-fed meat, grass-fed raw milk, I find that I don't eat very much. My wife puts way more on my plate than I can eat. And now she knows, hey, how much can you eat? I feel like, a small plate would be great. And she knows that I will go meal after meal not eating. She now asks me, hey, are you eating? No, I'm good for now. And I'll literally be skipping meals because as my body does really well, it's really efficient. And now I'm not driven by taste buds or my stomach. My stomach knows it doesn't do any good to rumble. He's going to eat what he's going to eat. And it's true. So as we get down this road of anti-aging, if it's even a remote topic that we could actually talk about, it's going to be food intake, it's going to be de-stressing, it's going to be chiropractic and a nervous system functioning at a high rate of speed and really efficient so that it can run a body really efficiently and eke out every ounce of life out of this thing before we decide to leave it and go back to which we came. So if those are ideas that resonate with you, that sound reasonable, my goodness, you might review this article and we would begin to realize that, hey, I'm not going to rely on blood tests because they're kind of poor indicators. But maybe this new scientific research on these proteins might give me an idea. Hey, I've got some kidney that's going downhill. What does a kidney need to repair? Well, it needs good nerve flow from T11, 12, lower in the mid back at the bottom of the ribs. And it also needs a lot of vitamin C, a lot of trace minerals, a lot of vitamin A. It needs molybdenum. So kidneys need stuff. Each of these organs do have certain things that they do need more of than other organs. And as we eat a very balanced, high octane fuel lifestyle food, we're probably going to find that we age quite well, quite gracefully, without all the disease conditions that we have. I hope that kind of was helpful. If you have any topics you'd love for me to cover, shoot me an email. I'd love to do it. Until next time, I'm Dr. Troy.
Thanks for listening. If you have any questions or comments, you can reach Dr. Munson at 360-893-8586 or email him at chiroman@dr.com. That's CHIROMAN @dr.com. Check out our current workshop schedule on Facebook at Infinity Whole Health.
The information on Dr. Troy Munson's podcast is meant to educate the listener and is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent disease.